Hi, welcome to the online tutorial for the Uni Sequin Ornament Kit from Semi-Priceless. Let's get started. You will have received your sequin ornament kit in the mail. It'll look something like this. You'll have a styrofoam ball, some pins, black ribbon, a little uni pendant that I made for you guys, some uni spines, 12mm sequins, embossed or matte sequins, 10mm sequins, and some assorted black beads. Great! The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the ribbon and you're going to wrap it once around the styrofoam ball. Then you're just going to pin the ribbon into place like so. Don't worry if the ribbon isn't exactly straight, you're going to cover the entire ribbon anyway, it doesn't matter. And just put a few pins so that if you take your hand off, the ribbon stays in place. And now, like you're wrapping a present, you're going to tie a quick knot at the top, just once, and then you're going to wrap the ribbon around the styrofoam ball in the opposite direction that you wrapped it before. And then you're just going to do the same thing as before. You're going to take pins and secure the ribbon to the styrofoam ball. I tend to put a few pins in the middle, and then I'll put a couple of pins at the top, just to make sure that the ribbon really is on there snugly. And then the final step, after you feel like the ribbon is really secure on there, is to tie a double knot at the top. You don't want to cut off this excess ribbon because this is how your ornament is going to hang. You'll notice in your kit that you have these sea urchin spines. These can be stuck directly into the styrofoam ball because they're already attached to a pin. For the beads, on the other hand, you're actually going to need to thread the beads with a pin in order to stick it into the styrofoam ball. And I highly recommend that you actually take some time, put on a podcast, and before you even get started with the sequins, just thread all of these beads. It'll save you a lot of time and struggle in the long run because you won't have to be juggling the styrofoam ball and the sequins and also trying to thread pins at the same time. Phew, glad I got that out of the way. Now we're ready to actually start putting the sequins onto the styrofoam ball. You want to make sure to leave this bottom part of the sequin ornament, this little knot of ribbon, exposed. So place your first sequin to the side of that little knot. And you want to place a pin through the hole in the sequin, and that's what's actually going to secure the sequin onto the styrofoam ball. So again, you put the sequin down, and you can choose either a regular pin or, in this case, a pin that has a bead attached, one of the beads that you threaded, and you use that to secure the sequin. Finally, you can use a sea urchin spine that has a pin attached to it already, and you just use that to thread through the sequin and attach it to the styrofoam ball. Easy does it. The one thing that I will recommend, which you notice me doing here, is I'm placing the sequins onto the ornament in sort of a spiral order. So I'm starting from the top and working my way down over the ornament. The reason that I do this is to make sure that you have full coverage of the styrofoam. The last thing you want to do after all your hard work is have bits of that white styrofoam sticking through, especially with a black uni ornament like this one. It's not going to look great. So what you're actually doing as you're placing each sequin onto the ornament is you're overlapping it slightly with the last sequin that you placed on the ornament. In that way, you're actually going to ensure that the entire styrofoam ball is covered. Don't worry, you're not going to run out of sequins. I promise. So again, keep going in that spiral downwards direction, down over the styrofoam ball. From here, it's off to the races. You can just keep putting sequins down and keep threading those sequins with either a sea urchin spine, a regular pin, or a pin that has a bead threaded onto it. So you might be wondering, okay, well, what order should I put the sequins onto the styrofoam ball? Should I start with the 10mm sequins or maybe the smaller embossed sequins? Should I start with a sea urchin spine or should I start with a regular pin? There's no right or wrong order to put all these different elements onto your styrofoam ball. The kit is designed so that every single ornament that's created is going to be slightly unique. That being said, the way that I personally choose to make these ornaments is I will definitely alternate. There's enough sea urchin spines in your kit, so maybe every fourth or fifth pin that you put into the ornament can be a sea urchin spine. They're slightly more 10mm sequins than any other kind of sequin in the kit. So I might put a 10mm sequin, and then I'll put an embossed sequin, and then I'll put another 10mm sequin, and then I'll put a 12mm sequin. It's up to you. I try to make sure that the spines aren't clustered too close together, but other than that, I just kind of go with the flow and just have a good time. And if you're wondering why I even bother to give you so many different kinds of sequins and so many different kinds of beads, it's for texture. You want the ornament to look interesting and fun and not just have the same uniform sequins all throughout. And finally, the beauty of making styrofoam ornaments is if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. If you're not happy with the way it looks, just take that pin out and place the sequin somewhere else. You don't need to worry about getting it right the first time. And before you know it, you'll be putting those last few sequins onto the styrofoam ball. Now, it might take a little jiggling and moving things around to get those last few sequins onto the styrofoam ball. You're trying to cover up any last bits of styrofoam that might be peeking out. But if you're ever having to push too hard, if you're feeling like you're actually pushing a pin into a pin, stop, take the pin out, and try to push it in at a different angle. It should never hurt to stick a pin into the styrofoam ball. The only part of the ornament right now that should not be covered in a sequin is that little bit of ribbon at the very bottom of the ornament that you left open at the beginning. And here's why. Now we're going to do the final step, which is to attach the pendant to the bottom of the ornament. You're going to take a pin, you're going to thread it through one of the larger sequins, like so. And then be careful with this, don't poke yourself. You're going to thread the pin through the knot at the top of the uni pendant. So just push that through, voila. And then you're just going to stick that onto the underside of the ornament where you left that little bit of space. And that's it. That's all you need to know to get started with your uni sequin ornament kit. If you have any questions or if you're confused at all, feel free to send me a message or leave a comment below. I can't wait to see what you create.